G'day everyone. I wrote a blog up for our webpage about a month ago with costs. Cost of living is a real big factor for everybody at the moment, and the thing is, when I wrote it, well, the cost of living is still in the news every day a month later, so I thought I'll make a YouTube as well to reach a different audience to what I would reach from our webpage. We have been on the road for 4 years, a bit over 4 years, and I track every single thing that we spend in that time, right down to an ice cream. So I've got expenses tracked for all that period. So just recently I did a comparison from 6-month period in 2021 compared to a 6-month period in 2022. So in that 2021 period, I went for 6 months from January to June, and then in 2022 it was from July until December. So that's given, a full 12 months in between those comparisons to see how much prices have jumped. All right, so what did we find? The obvious one, everyone would know, is fuel. Fuel has gone up astronomically. So that's a biggie, so I'll come back to that one. The other difference that we noticed is accommodation. Now, we are really big on free camping. We haven't had a problem over the years with finding the majority of our free camps, and if we can't find a free camp, our preferred choice... What are you doing in the background there, Glenn? Our preferred choice is low cost. So in the past, we've always had a category for my record keeping as free camping or low cost camping, and the low cost was $20 and under. So the big change in 2022, we had to change our low cost option to $25 and under. What we found is we could still find free camps, but the low cost option, it was rare to find anything under $20 in that period, and still today. Most of the lowish campsites are, they've gone up. Even national parks now, you can't get under $20, especially in New South Wales. In some of the other states you can, but it's been a struggle to keep that to our preferred $20 and under. So that option has gone up to $25. In the past, we've had 3 categories. As I said before, free camping, the low cost, which was $20 and under, and then I had campgrounds over $21. So I had 3 categories. So we now have a mid-range and a high. I've now got 4 categories. So that's probably the biggest change in our expenses, is changing our categories and having a mid-range, which is now between $26 and $45, and then high range, which is $46 and above. Now, we rarely stay in anything that price, $46 and above, but if we are in a town where there's no other option, your touristy towns, we're not going to drive straight past those places and not visit them just because we can't get somewhere cheap. So we have to have a category to suit that, which is the $46 and over. So what did we spend in accommodation? As I said before, we do free camp a lot, so that really helps to keep the prices down. So that's good. Our 6-month period in 2021, we spent a total of $1,316. So that equated to $7.27 a day. Now that's pretty good. I'm pretty happy with that. Jump forward to 2022, and we spent a total of $2,912. Now that equates to $15.82 a day. So that is more than double. It's a really big jump, and it just goes to show that those categories that I did have to modify, that's why, because the accommodation cost has more than doubled. Yeah, we can still find free camps, but those low cost, even donation camps have gone up significantly. So groceries. Everybody knows how much groceries have increased. with the cost of living. It's ridiculous. So there's no surprise there that groceries have gone up. Our 6-month period for 2021 was $3,946, which equates to $21.80 a day. Now, what I neglected to tell you there with our categories, in my grocery section, I incorporate groceries and alcohol. So that's the two combined. So that is a daily amount for groceries and grog for the 6 months in 2021. Now in 2022, we didn't start drinking more. We drink exactly the same, but it's jumped up. Everyone's noticed that at the supermarket. So our 2022 6-month period for groceries, we spent $5,626, which equated to $30.58 per day. That's massive change. So that jumped from $21.80 to $30.58. So that's almost 50%. Now that was really surprising, because yes, we know that groceries have gone up. I really didn't believe that it was 50%. So I'm thinking about that. The only thing that I can think is that this obviously doesn't take into account how remote we were in some of it. Now, we did have a period in 2021 where we were in Cape York, so grocery prices would have been more expensive up there, but that was for a shorter period of time than when in 2022 we were in remote Western Australia. We were in the outback of WA for a much longer period in that 6-month time slot in 2022. So maybe that contributed to the almost 50% price rise in groceries and grog, but really it's a big jump no matter what. And I know for a fact that everybody, even when they're not travelling at home, has noticed a significant jump in their grocery prices. The next category is eating out. Now, in my spreadsheet, I have 3 different sections for eating out. We have our pub meals if we go out for dinner. Then there's another category which is easy lunches, which is like a cafe sandwich or something like that. And then the third category, which is coffees and ice creams. So even just having a cup of tea goes on my spreadsheet. So for the purpose of this 6-month period, I've incorporated all those 3 categories into the one of just one eating out category. So in 2021, we spent $1,660 in that 6-month period, which equated to $9.17 per day. Now in 2022, we spent $2,150, which equates to $11.68 per day. So we were really surprised with that, pleasantly surprised actually. So it only went from $9.17 to $11.68, so only a couple of dollars extra per day. With everything else that's jumped up significantly in price, I thought it would have been more. But there's also another reason why we were surprised. Now, all of our travelling years, we have been very picky with eating out. It's obviously a category that you can blow the budget. So we have always been very, very careful of where we eat out and what we spend in that category. Now, with the price of fuel going up so much and everything changing, by the time this 2022 6-month came around, we had changed our focus and we had decided that there had been too often in the past when we had not experienced that nice little cafe or that milk bar or something that a little town is known for, because we didn't want to spend the money on eating out. So we have, in the 2022 period, spent more on that sort of thing. We've had more free pub camp stays. Now that is a free camp, but it is a costly free camp because you always oblige the business that you're staying at and have a meal and drinks. So in the past we've tried to just be careful with how many pub stays that we stay at. We did a bit more in 2022 and we really enjoyed it. The whole experience of pub camping is a great experience, but you do need to spend money while you're there. So given that we've eaten out more in that period, we were really surprised that it was only $2 extra a day. So that has been a bonus for us with all these cost of living increases, that we've actually got to enjoy some more eating out places, and it hasn't blown the budget. All right, so fuel. Well, I told you I'd get back to fuel, so here we go. It's gone up ridiculous amounts. We all know, it's painful when you fill up at the Bowser, and obviously when you're traveling you have to fill up a lot. It's often a daily occurrence. So in 2021 before I get to the dollars actually, we travelled different kilometres obviously in both 6-month periods. So in 2021 we travelled 13,317 kilometres over that 6-month period, but in 2022 we travelled 18,107. So quite a few more kilometres. So to make sure that I'm comparing apples with apples, what I've done is I know how much dollar total we spent in that 6-month period of each. So I've worked it out to be a cents per kilometre cost, so that, as I said before, it's comparing apples with apples. So in 2021, our cents per kilometre was 25 cents, whereas in 2022, our cents per kilometre was 38 cents. That's a pretty big difference. Probably close to 40%, I suppose. I haven't worked that out exactly, but there's no doubt that fuel has jumped dramatically in that time. So with all this negativity, it sounds negativity, I don't want to scare anyone off who might be planning to travel, planning to do their lap, or planning to leave full time, because there's obviously a lot of positives about doing it. And we've actually used, especially the fuel cost, that disadvantage to our advantage, and swung things around so that we have actually enjoyed our travel style more so in the last 12 months. What we've done is we've just slowed down our travel. Obviously, if you slow down, you don't have to fill up your tank as often, so you're not putting your hand in your pocket as often. So where we would normally have stayed maybe 2 nights in a place, we might stay 4 or 5. And we now might even pay for a $40 a night campsite, sometimes because we have to, and sometimes just because we want to, because we're not filling up that tank every day in the vehicle. So we've found if we stay that 4 or 5 nights in a place, we get a chance, we've gone slow enough that we can check out their cafe, we can eat at the pub, we still obviously source out all the free activities in town, and bushwalks and waterfalls and scenic drives and all those sorts of things, which we've always loved to do. So we are just looking deeper into these small towns to find more, and really enjoying that. So it's a real balancing act of finances. So we're trying to stick to our budget, which I haven't changed over the period. I'm still trying to stick to around $7.50 a week. So it is a balancing act. So we have less fuel to buy. We have a little bit more to play with spending money on accommodation or on meals out. As for our average weekly expenses over that 6-month period in each section, as I said, for the whole 4 years, I've always aimed to be about $7.50 a week on average. Now, that varies significantly in a shorter period of time. When I'm doing the $7.50 per week, that's averaged out over 4 years. So I don't panic if we have one week that's $1,000, because I know in the long run we're going to have some weeks that are $500. So it all evens out. A lot of people travel and have this strict, I have to stick to X amount per week. but you need to have that fluctuation from week to week and look at the bigger picture, even if it's monthly or 2 monthly, to give you an average over that period rather than every week having to stick to your dollar amount, because that's really tiring and it's really takes the enjoyment out of your holiday. So as I said, I always aim for $750. This 6-month period in 2021, our costs were only $578 average per week. So in the 2022 period, our costs per week averaged $810. Now, over the 4 years, we've obviously had some really expensive costs in there. Horizontal Falls is one example, that's a few $1,000s. We've also budgeted for flights when we go home to visit family. So, you know, if we've got $1,000 there in flights, that blows the budget in 1 week and it's just for 1 day. But averaged out over the whole 4-year period, it all works out quite well. So our $578 per week in 2021 and our $810 in 2022, nothing really scares me there, because the weekly averages do jump around. Well, just for those who are curious too, our weekly average, it does not include our caravan and car insurance and registration. We still have a home at home, so those costs go into our household costs. So our weekly average is just everything that is travel related, excluding our rego and insurance. Everybody works this weekly average out different, their own weekly average out different. So I just thought I'd clarify that. What is most important to us is the overall weekly average. And even after our 4 years, I'm still looking at our overall weekly average for the 4 years is $738 per week. So I'm within budget, even with our 2022 blowout of fuel. It's still all good. So anyway, I'm going to wrap it up. You've been watching my face too long. But I suppose in summary, I just want people to be aware that it's doable to travel Australia, and just manage those funds. Just as I said, it is a balancing act. It's much easier to stick to your budget if you've got the time to go slower. So admittedly, if you've only got your 6-month long service leave or whatever, you might have to blow the budget and just go faster. But if you've got the time to go slow, you can get those costs down and you can have an enjoyable time. Enjoy what the region has to offer. It really is a good way of life. So I hope you enjoy it too.